Yes, you. Welcome to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast, a podcast for people who want to disrupt their lives for a good reason, to make it count. I'm your host, Jen Glantz, and every week I'll drop a new episode with stories from real people just like you, who woke up one morning and decided to make big changes, starting with small things. We'll cover topics like entrepreneurship, love, failure, and self-care. Hey, you're not getting any younger, so let's make this an adventure. Ready? Today's podcast is sponsored by Ours. Ours believes that relationship health should be celebrated and accessible. Relationships are the number one predictors of our physical, emotional, and mental health after all. That's why Ours offers premarital counseling so that couples can begin to invest in their relationships even if they're perfectly happy. That way they can live happier, healthier lives together. What makes Ours premarital counseling unique? Ours is 100% virtual, approachable, low stakes, and most importantly, fun. Ours is 4% of what you'll spend on a wedding photographer, and get this, 100% of couples feel closer after Ours. Plus, 50% of couples who use this service are not even engaged. So whether you're engaged, dating, or already married, as long as you're looking for a proactive and meaningful experience, this will be great for you. Ours will help guide you through the big conversations our head therapist, Elizabeth Earnshaw, who has worked with hundreds of couples over the last decade, has found to be the most important in terms of marital success, including communication, finances, intimacy, household roles, responsibility, and so much more. Ours includes 6 sessions, 2 live over Zoom with a trained guide, and 4 self-guided content sessions in Loveware. You can learn more at withours.com/JenGlantz. That's withours.com/JenGlantz. This podcast episode is sponsored by Founders Book. You know when you have an idea? Well, it's not always so easy to turn it into a business. But with Founders Book, they support you with all the tools, guides, templates, and an operating system, along with savings from SaaS platforms to build, launch, and scale your idea into a business. A few weeks ago, I signed up for Founders Book to learn how to build and launch a new business. And since then, I have stuck with Founders Book for 3 main reasons. First, you get access to the best tools and resources to turn any idea into an MVP and beyond. Plus, they are a startup OS, a one Notion-based workspace for building and growing your startup. You can find everything in one place. And you can save up to $500 in credits and benefits from over 200 SaaS platforms that you're going to use anyway for your business. Try Founders Book today by clicking the link below in our show notes. I promise you, if you're somebody with an idea, but you don't know where to start, you don't know what to do, Founders Book has all of the answers that you need. Check it out today. Hey, any youngers, it's me, your host, Jen Glantz, back with another episode of the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. I'm coming to you live, not live, pre-recorded, but it's live right now. From my apartment in Brooklyn, New York. I walked into my room, which is also where I record, where my desk is. I walked into my room tiptoeing because Goofy, my dog, is currently fast asleep in the bed. And even though I have to record the podcast right now, I wanted to do it in a way that wouldn't wake her up. So far, I was able to tiptoe in, plug in my microphone, and start talking to you without disturbing her sleep, which matters to me more than anything. I literally had someone yesterday tell me that it's important as a parent or a dog parent to let your kid or your dog experience some pain, not pain that's gonna hurt them, but let them fall, let them go through things, because I'm the kind of person that nurtures to the T, that I will make sure Goofy never feels uncomfortable. And if she does, I go out of my way to make sure that that doesn't happen. For example, Goofy is a dog with a lot of anxiety when you leave her home alone, and that might be because she's a bit of a pandemic puppy. We got her in March of 2020, but she really can't be left alone. So when we go out for more than a couple of hours, we hire a babysitter, and they come, they watch her, and when we come home, they leave. I know that sounds crazy, but it's what we do because, again, I want to avoid putting her in any situation that would make her feel uncomfortable or not feel good. This weekend, we went to a wedding in Westchester, New York, which is about like an hour and a half away from Brooklyn. We hired the babysitter to stay until 10, but we ended up having a great time at the wedding. We were talking, I was eating Carvel ice cream cake, and all of a sudden we looked down at our phone and we realized it was already 9:15, which meant if we left at that moment, we probably wouldn't get home till after 10:30. So we text the babysitter, we jump in the car, we text the babysitter, we're like, hey, we're running a little bit late, we should be home by 10:30, can you please just stay an extra 30 minutes? The babysitter texts us back and says, no, I'm going home. And Adam's driving, he's trying to get us home as safely but as quickly as possible. And I'm like, all right, let's negotiate with this wonderful person. I'm like, hey, we'll pay you more, we'll drive you home, because she was gonna have to take the bus home. It was late at night. I'm like, we'll drive you home, we'll pay you more. Can you just please stay for my sweet little angel with extreme social anxiety? And she writes back, no, I'm leaving at 10. By this point, I am trying not to freak out. I'm trying not to have a full-on panic attack. I mean, yeah, Goofy can be at home for a half hour, an hour by herself, maybe a little bit more. But what was freaking me out the most was like it was 10:30 at night and she's never been left alone at that hour. Plus, being left alone by a stranger, I felt like it was going to make her even crazier. So the babysitter leaves, I guess, at 10, and we're still a half hour away. Adam is putting the pedal to the metal. We pull up in front of our building. I'm like, Adam, I don't even care that you have to park. He's still driving. I open the car door and jump out of a moving car in heels. And I run upstairs to open the door to see Goofy. And she is just shaking uncontrollably, very disturbed, very upset. Of course, she got over it. All of this is to say, I'm the kind of person that will nurture so that nobody else feels the pain. I was willing to break a leg jumping out of the moving car just so I could save my fur baby. So that's just a quick little tangent to tell you that I'm recording this podcast a little softer than usual because I don't want to wake up Goofy. Today I have some couple of fun stories to tell you, and these stories were actually featured in my Monday newsletter. If you listen to the podcast and you don't read the Monday newsletter, you totally should. It's completely free. I'm going to link it below in this episode. It's called the Monday Pick Me Up. You can sign up for it on jenglantz.com, but I'm also going to link it here. It goes out every single morning at 6 a.m. I never really talk about it, which is weird because I've had the newsletter for 8 years and it has thousands and thousands of subscribers. It's like the number one thing I love doing other than this podcast. But I'm going to share a couple of stories that I shared this week. First is just a little tidbit on the art of forgiveness. I was thinking about this for a while. I have some people in my life who have caused me pain in the past who I haven't fully forgiven. I've thought deeply about it. I've not come to the conclusion as to whether or not I'm ready to put everything behind me. You know, it was like a really big thing what happened. But I'd say like once or twice a year, they text me to wish me a happy birthday, to just wish me congratulations. And during those two moments, I fight with whether or not I should write back and then what I should say back or how enthusiastic I should be to this person who I don't fully forgive. And it happened the other day. They reached out to say congratulations about something. And I just thought to myself that forgiveness is such a tricky little thing. It's not something we have to 100% dive into. We could ease into forgiving someone as if we're dipping one toe at a time into the pool. Once your entire foot is in there, you're shivering because it's so cold, it's so foreign, it's so unique. But that feeling is temporary. And then once you go knee deep a little bit further, you start to shiver again. Forgiveness is sometimes a step forward and then one back, and then a step forward again, and so on. You might never, ever make it to that full body, hair wet, totally submerged in the pool of we're okay now, but you'll go to a place that feels right when it feels right, only when it feels right. And that's how I feel when I get these text messages, is sometimes I feel like I can use the explanation point, and then sometimes I feel like I can just write back a one-word answer because I'm really teetering, going back and forth on how I should feel about the person and the situation, and it's tough. And I don't think we can view forgiveness as something that is 100%. It's something that ebbs and flows as we do and as our feelings do. And I wanted to share that with you because chances are there's somebody in your life, somebody who you haven't fully forgiven. And maybe other people around you are telling you to just forgive them already. Just do it. It'll set you free. But if you feel like it's not that easy, then you're not alone, because forgiveness is not a one and done kind of thing. It's ongoing. It's completely ongoing. The other night I was getting dinner with a friend at their house with Adam and their husband, and I had brought up something that Adam said to me that week that like made me really upset. And we laugh about it now. You know, I'm very public. Like, I don't care. It's not like private. We talk about it. We laugh about it now. And we were telling the couple this, and they were like, well, Jen, have you fully forgiven Adam? And I was like, well, in the moment, I forgave him. I said, yeah, it's okay. We can move on. But no, you know, I think about it maybe like once every other day, like the comment he said, and it bothers me. It makes my skin tingle. It makes me upset. You know, I wish he wouldn't have said what he said, but he did. And yeah, I forgave him in that moment when he asked for it, because I love him and I care about him and we're married, and it wasn't that big of a deal. It was a tiny little deal. But just because I forgave him in that moment doesn't mean I'm over it. Doesn't mean that feeling doesn't linger. And that's also okay. And they kept saying, well, you're not over it. You haven't forgiven. And I was like, you know what? I've forgiven in the fact that we can move on, but I haven't forgotten. And I know that's so cliche, but that's okay too. It's okay to say, yeah, okay, I accept your apology, but it's also okay to take the space and the time to let it sink in and to process how you feel before you really, really, really move on. Okay, the next story I want to share with you is quite random, but it's one of my most favorite stories to tell. And when I shared it in the newsletter this week and I shared it on social media, I've never in my life had so many people reach out about a story. And I wanted to share it with you because it's one of my favorite stories to tell, because there's so many twists and turns in this story that make it just so unreal. But magic happens to us not only when we least expect it, but when we need it the most to teach us a lesson. So years and years ago, I think like maybe 2014, before I ever knew Adam, I went to a concert in Central Park. I went to Dashboard Confessional, and I went by myself. I was feeling really sad because I had just gone on a couple of dates with this guy. I really liked him. But after the third date, he never spoke to me again. He didn't return texts 1, 2, 5, or 7. And I was so devastated because I really wanted to meet somebody. I really thought I hit it off with him. And it just made me really upset that he didn't even give me the decency to call it off. So I decided to do something outrageous and go to this concert by myself. To be honest with you, it was the first concert I had ever gone to alone. And I was super nervous and self-conscious that people would look at me when I was singing the songs and having a good time and think like, what is wrong with this person that she has nobody to go to the concert with? But the truth is, when we do something that makes us feel odd or uncomfortable, nobody else really ever cares or notices. We just think they do. So a few minutes after I got there and the band started playing, I just gave up wondering what people thought about me, and I just started screaming the lyrics and getting closer and closer to the stage. That's when all of a sudden, the most magical thing happened. This woman next to me, she taps me on the shoulder and she goes, "Hey, are you here solo also?" The crazy part about life, and I'm sure you felt this too, is that people attract other people who are in similar situations to them without even trying. It happens like magic, and it always means something life-changing will come next. I remember years ago when I was going through the hardest and worst time of my life. I was going through something so uniquely terrible that I didn't think anybody else in the world was going through this. I'll never forget. One day, I went to get salad. I was sitting at the salad restaurant, eating my salad in misery, crying into the salad bowl because I was just so depressed. I felt so alone, and I just felt like this horrible thing happened to me and nobody else. And all of a sudden, I start eavesdropping on the conversation next to me, and these two girls are talking, and one of them is just updating her friend about what's happening in her life. I'm not kidding you. It was identical to what was happening in my life. The same exact thing was happening to her. And I didn't say anything. I almost did. I almost said, "Hey, I know this is weird, but we've got to chat." I didn't say anything because I didn't feel I needed to. Because the reason why I happened to eavesdrop on this conversation wasn't to make a new best friend, but it was to remind me that even when you think you're going through something so unique, so horrible, that you're not alone, that there's other people out there that are going through it too. And knowing that you're not alone makes you feel significantly, gigantically better. In this situation, this girl and I at the concert, we ended up talking in between songs, and we realized we had a lot in common. We were from the same hometown, like a couple cities away. We had some distant mutual friends. We had gone to the same college, and we both had been to like a ton of Dashboard confessional concerts. And after bonding for a good hour or so, she turned to me and said these words I never thought I would hear in my entire life. But she said, "Hey, I have an extra pass to go backstage after the show. Do you want to come with me?" And that is how I found myself hugging the lead singer of Dashboard Confessional, a band I've loved since I'm 13 years old, and sitting backstage with her and a bunch of other people listening to this like private, secret backstage performance. After it all ended and we walked out of the venue together, I said to her, "Thank you so much. Like, that was the most epic thing that's happened to me in so long." But all of a sudden, I lifted my head, and there he was, the guy that my heart ached for, the one who didn't talk to me after date number 3. That guy was right there in front of my face. And he looks at me and he says, "Jen, oh my God, I can't believe you're here." My friends, I was in complete shock. I didn't move. I didn't say anything. I was sad walking into the concert. I had this incredible serendipitous experience with this girl and going backstage. And then I see this guy. And he just comes up to me and he hugs me as my arms just hung by my side. And my new friend is like standing next to me. Her eyebrows are arching in complete wonder. She's wondering what the heck is going on. And he says to me, "Jen, it's so good to see you. You know, I've been meaning to reach out. I would love to see you again." And that is when it hit me so hard in my gut. We spend so much time chasing after the things, the people that we think we want. But sometimes what we want is so wrong for us. And we know it, but we just miss the warning signs. We are smarter and wiser than we give ourselves credit for. Yet sometimes we act out of desperation because we're scared to lose something we think we want. When the truth is, we don't want that. We just want something. Something we find usually the second we say goodbye. I just looked at him and responded no, and I walked away. And that was it. I hugged my friend and thanked her for the best night of my life, and I went home. I never saw him again, and to be honest with you, I don't even remember his name. I also never saw her again. But 7 years later, I think about that chance encounter, the fast friendship I made with this person, the opportunity to go backstage and meet a legend, and the moment of running into a person I wanted to run into so badly until it happened. And I realized I didn't ever want to see them again or feel that way again because of them. Dear friend, what is ever happening to you in life right now that doesn't feel right isn't something you have to hang on to. Let it go. Even if you're scared you'll never, ever, ever find something else, you will. Trust yourself. Go on adventures. Take yourself out to a solo dinner. Let new things enter your life, and before you know it, you'll say goodbye to things that you're barely holding on to now. As always, all my love, Jen Glantz. Hey you! Thank you for listening to the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast. There are hundreds of thousands of pods out there, so thank you for listening to this one. You can find the show notes for this week's episode up on our website, anyyounger.com. Subscribe, rate, and review the You're Not Getting Any Younger podcast on iTunes so that other ears around the world can listen too. Oh, and join our secret You're Not Getting Any Younger Facebook group, where over 1,000 people are talking about how to disrupt their lives, for a good reason, to make it count. Until next week, all my love, Jen Glantz.